Welcome to everyone who is joining us here today for the Lunch and Learn session. Today, I'd like to thank Brendan Singh for joining us. He's joining us from simPRO.
Thank you, Heather. Thanks for inviting me.
So, Brendan, can you share with us who you are and one quirky fact about yourself?
Right. So I'm Brendan Singh. I'm the partner manager at simPRO. I've been with simPRO for a couple of years now. One quirky fact about me would be I have actually shared my lunch with the lions in South Africa, cubs.
Oh, what did you share with them?
Oh, look, we actually went into the session. They have the biggest white lion pride in captivity in one of the South African, in Johannesburg. We actually fed them lunch. So while we were having lamb cutlets, we were giving them raw lamb as well.
I don't think I would want to go in and be eating lamb in front of lions, but that sounds like a wonderful experience, and obviously very much likely that putting that funding towards them helps the sustainability and keeping them alive, with the research, etc. So we're really excited to have you here today. And you're here to talk about simPRO. Mm-hmm. So we encourage successfully run your business with a single software solution built for service, project, and maintenance management with features for office and field. simPRO cloud-based solution gives you everything you need to manage operations and grow your business. So handing it over to you, Brendan. What do we need to know about simPRO?
Look, we need to know a few things. What I would do is, let me know, Heather, if you can see my screen.
I can.
Great, perfect. So what I'll do is I'll start with giving you a bit of an overview of what simPRO is, the industries we work with, then jump into a sneak preview of the actual software, why, having simPRO gives you that whole 360 end-to-end, capability in running the business. Talk a bit about the simPRO Partner Program and then jump into the Q&A, right? So the simPRO story, I think, as you rightly said, simPRO is headquartered in Brisbane. We started in 2002 and we were started by an electrical contractor. And the reason Steve started simPRO was because he didn't want to be slave to his business. As most of your community members would understand, when they get these business owners come in, initially they're all charged up and good to go and do things. That's what they love to do. But slowly and steadily, they become slave of the business where they're, spending so much time hiding behind whiteboards and spreadsheets. So Steve didn't want that. He actually set up simPRO as a scheduling app. And from there on in, it has grown on to be this global behemoth where we now have 6,800 plus businesses running simPRO, about 300 plus employees globally. We've got 4 offices, UK, AU, NZ, and US, and very soon in Netherlands and Singapore as well. And believe it or not, since 2002, 150,000 plus users use simPRO globally. So, as you rightly said, what does simPRO do? So if the best way to explain what simPRO does is it allows you to run your business with a single software solution from the office to the field for service, project, and maintenance management. Right now, there's no paper involved. You can do everything on the fly, and especially in the last year and a half or two, when the world's facing this global pandemic, that has become so important. simPRO has been one of the leading solutions in the trade space to get rid of that whole paper scenario where people don't have to come into warehouses to get their run sheets and so on and so forth. Now, who does simPRO work with? So as your community members would see, that they would have customers in these industries: plumbing, electrical, security, fire, HVAC. But you can see a common theme here. You've got guys who are in vans or in utes going out, building things, fixing things, doing that maintenance work. That's predominantly where the simPRO niche is, right? But again, it's a job management software. It's a field management software. I've got chook farms using it. I've got massive machinery importers using it. So, but that is our bread and butter, with the industries where people have to go and fix things and then, build stuff out. And how does simPRO streamline those everyday processes? So this is another important feature. All the way from a lead coming into simPRO, we can capture a lead. That lead then, could potentially get into being a quoting or doing that estimating. Once that quote or estimating has been approved by the end customer, to schedule that lead. On the field, you then have live tracking, you have invoices, you've got supplier integrations, invoicing, and then pushing all of those invoices to the accounting software. But where simPRO extends is we have in-depth reporting at a job level. There's close to 55 different reports at that job level, at that stage level, which simPRO brings to the focus for your community members as well, right? So without further ado, let me show you what simPRO is all about and jump into another screen. Let me know if you can see that one. You can, perfect. So this is the homepage of simPRO, right? 100% cloud-based, and consider this, we actually go and set this up for your clients on an individual basis. So if I have an internet, if I have a laptop or an iPad, I can log into simPRO for anywhere in the world, right? The moment I log in, I'm presented with this homepage where what you look here, we've got these service dashboards. So if I am one of your customers, person who's looking at the scheduling side of it, who is looking at, where his staff are, what the current activity is, what the status of the jobs is, what does the schedule for today look like, we have that graphic representation within the service dashboard. Now, I might be someone who's a project manager, and I can click on the projects dashboard, and then it actually tells me the cost of my active jobs versus how much has been invoiced. Now, these are, again, just bird's eye views, dashboards. I can actually then go in and figure out on my job, how much is the job total, what has been invoiced to date, what's the cost to date, and what's the margin. I might be the person who manages the accounts. So this could be one of your community members who's extending the services to be managing those accounts for the end customer. I can get into the accounts dashboard and I'm presented with a 30, 60, 90-day, age receivables count. What is overdue? How much is it overdue by? How many days it's overdue? What's due today? And any notes with that particular one. Last but not the least, this is one of my favorites, is our sales dashboard. So simPRO tracks everything based on the cost centers. So if I am the director of the business, I can go in and have a look at where is my revenue coming from, right? What am I doing more? Was it service? Is it maintenance or electrical? I can also set up sales targets. As you can see, all we've done till now is click the software 4 times. And it has given me that 360-degree view from a high level based on my role, whether I'm in accounts, whether I'm in sales, whether I'm the director, or I'm the scheduler on that homepage itself, right? Now, moving forward with simPRO, this on the right-hand side is my reminders section. So think of reminders as the online sticky notes. Now, every user will be given their own reminders. It might be, I have to chase invoices. I might have to be, booking in material or couriers or other things, right? Announcements is the only place where we talk to our customers. So simPRO has a team of 120 software developers in Brisbane. We have a rapid release cycle of 3 weeks and a major release cycle of a quarter, right? And it's not just us building the software. simPRO has this ideas portal. So those 150,000 plus users that you know about, they actually go in, submit an idea to simPRO, it gets open for voting, and then we start going and building it. Last year, out of the 80 major enhancements that we did in simPRO, 40 of them were driven through that ideas portal. So the community that we have builds onto that, right? Now, alerts, simPRO is a trigger-driven software. So whatever simPRO can capture, it can alert you on, right? Whether it's customers, invoices, jobs, all of that could be alerted within simPRO. Now, For those customers of yours who have multiple lines of business, right? Or they might have, their maintenance arm and their building arm. simPRO also has a multi-company approach where they can set up different logos, different accounting software, different ABNs, still within the same software, so that if they have to have an exit strategy in the next 2 years, they can have all that information within them and then, let it on go, right? Now, this on the left-hand side is what I call the backbone of the software, or the panel, or the ribbon. We can name it whatever, but I usually call it the backbone of the software. This is where simPRO becomes end to end, right? So all the way from a lead coming in. Now we can capture a lead from a website, from a form, from a chat, right? It then becomes your sales CRM, your pipeline management, your sales forecasting. The lead then potentially gives us an opportunity to quote. Now, within the quote, we've got 2 flavors of quote: your service quote, your stock standard, due and charge, a downlight's gone, there's a leaking shower, set up the quote, go ahead and do that. Or a massive project quote, which could be potentially different stages, progress claims, retentions, inflations, all of that within the quoting side of it. Now, the quote, once we get a thumbs up from the customer, becomes a job, right? Now, within simPRO, we again have 4 flavors of a job. Your service job, as I said, your stock standard, due and charge, go dispatch. Your project job, which is 6 months, a year, different stages, again, managing all of that. Your prepaid job is your maintenance work, and your reoccurring is your preventative stuff that you got to do. Now, simPRO is a job costing animal, because within simPRO, because we are integrating with all these suppliers, because you've got pre-bills, because that allows you to do the costing at a very, very different level, and then compare the actuals versus the estimates when you're within the job as well. Now, the job then has to be scheduled. Now, within the schedule is where we give a suite of apps to the guys on the field, right? Now, there's no paperwork, as I said. These guys, all the way from getting their run sheets of what they have to do during the day, doing the GSAs, doing the swims, clicking photos, doing their timesheets, Android or iOS, we don't care. What this brings to the business is in real time, you are getting information back in to say, okay, Brendan has now finished the job. He still has 2 hours left before the next job. By the way, the next job's only 20 minutes away from him. Let me schedule him for that job, right? And then within the timesheets, that integrates into your accounting software. Materials, again, as I said, simPRO integrates with all the major suppliers that your customers could have, whether it's Middies, whether it's Reese, Bunnings, AWM, L&H. We actually import those catalog items into simPRO. There's reporting behind it. There's price discrepancy management, which simPRO can do. You can actually look at catalogs, purchase orders, quotes, takeoff templates, stock. simPRO recently has also released its own takeoff software, which allows you to drag and drop a drawing off an electrical plan and set up a takeoff software based on that. Now, from there, you get into the invoices where, you can look into your supplier invoices, contractor invoices, retentions, variances, which is then pushed into your accounting software, Xero, QuickBooks, or Mile, right? Now, how do we do all of this? All of this is done by building this on the back end of the software. So every simPRO install, we just don't, yes, it is off the shelf. Yes, it can sit in, but it's not that we give you the software and say, okay, you go and set it up. Every simPRO install is done by our own implementation consultants who have, who are employed by simPRO, have set up simPRO for a lot of the businesses. And what we're doing there is we are pulling information of customers, sites, suppliers, contacts, your workflows, your scripts, either from your accounting software or from your spreadsheets, or in certain instances, even deep diving into that brainstorming session to get that out of your mind and setting that up. The reason that is so important for us to set up simPRO correctly, And the reason why we pay so much importance on that is simPRO is on a 30-day rolling contract. We do not lock our customers into 12, 24, 36 months, right? It's in our interest that we set up the software properly so that you can then go on that growth journey, right? Now, on the reporting side, as I mentioned, simPRO has close to 55 reports off the shelf, whether it is price discrepancies report, where at the end of the month or the quarter, you actually are trying to figure out that, okay, based on my order price and my invoice price, how much has my suppliers charged me more? Download it, send that supplier discrepancy. Or it is, what's my job work in progress look like? My job productivity, profit and loss per job. Now, any of these reports could actually be emailed out to you on a daily, weekly, monthly basis if you wanted to. If these reports and off-the-shelf reports are not what gives you what it is, simPRO also has business intelligence reporting, right? Now, that is where simPRO really outshines and comes into it. So your community members can set up these dashboards, slice and dice the data that they want to, and present it to their customers in their monthly or quarterly meetings, in their boardrooms or online if they wanted to, and understand how business is going. Another important feature that a lot of times people don't realize simPRO has is what we call the Business Toolkit. Now, the Business Toolkit allows you and your customers to see that if they actually change their margins on their label sale or their material sale, how much more would they have made in the last quarter, right? Now, I'm a very strong believer that looking at things is much more, call to action than what you would be talking. So this Business Toolkit is another important, scenario. Now, within simPRO, the support aspect is again paramount to us. So we've got 24/6 phone support. We've got 24/7 chat support, but we in here have a learning toolbox. Each and every simPRO customer gets a learning toolbox given to them, which is actually all these modules of simPRO that they can mandate a new receptionist, a new estimator, a new project manager to do before they let into simPRO, right? There's a massive help guide with videos, with step-by-step instructions that is online, available to anyone on the internet, right? Even if after that, on a Monday morning, you're feeling a bit zombified and you don't know, how things are, and you've just literally forgotten what and how to do it, simPRO's got a very, very extensive walk me through functionality. So I could actually be typing in here, create a PO, and simPRO then guides me step by step on how I can create that PO by pointing into all of that. Now, those 120 developers, when they're doing that rapid release cycle or the major release cycle, till the time we do not have help guide articles, learning toolbox articles, or the walk me through, those features are not released in the market. So we've got a full training team which goes ahead and does all of that. And as I said, look, we are very, very particular on how do we go ahead and implement the software, because implementation is the key for us, right? And we just don't go and implement it. We've got full implementation milestones that we have with simPRO, right? So all the way from preparing, starting the welcome call, to the planning and design, where we understand the business discovery on the training plan, understanding the current workflows, what relevant business information needs to be captured within simPRO, to then going ahead and configuring the software, which again, everything is done by our implementation consultants, where we data populating, we are going through the accounting integration, we look at the company logos, letterhead, chart of accounts, overheads calculator. One of the first steps that they do before they set up anything in simPRO is get the overheads understood, because as you know, you would have, and I have walked into businesses who are billing out their staff at $90. Well, when they look at the overheads, they're already $20 down. So, the whole trajectory just goes down, and it's such an important piece. the user testing, deployment, and then expanding it. That's where it actually goes in, right? So this in a nutshell. Now I'm just having a bit of, oh, there it is. Sorry. Now, okay. In terms of the next question I usually get asked is, how much is simPRO, right? What is it? So think of simPRO as we have two different licenses. Your office license is anyone sitting in the office who, what you saw is what we call the office license. It's a concurrent license, $139 per month. Again, on a per user subscription model, 30-day rolling contract. They can dial up and down as they want. The cloud accounting is absolutely free, whether it's Xero, QuickBooks, or Myo. When it comes to the likes of Reckon Desktop, we can integrate to certain of those, and that might be paid. But apart from that, all these three, that's absolutely free. The simPRO Mobile is that suite of apps that we talked about, which allows them to do their run sheets, take photos, do GSAs, do timesheets. That is $19 per user per month for the field staff. The second component is that implementation where, we are giving them, onboarding them, setting the software up for them. All of that is done online for $1,400 or on their premises, $1,400 per day. But any of the simPRO partners or partners who are within our partner program, they do have exclusive partner discounts, which they can pass on to their customers. So, ideally, that's what simPRO is in a nutshell. And I think we did all right in that time that we were supposed to, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Brendan. That was a really impressive solution that you've presented there. It's a really slick solution. I like the features and functionality. I like the ideas box, and I think you should change the tagline to what you said. simPRO is a job costing animal. I think that's how you'll get the numbers, accountants and bookkeepers community to on board with that. A job costing animal, that's what they'd like.
It is.
Now, I welcome anyone to ask questions, either ask them in the chat area or jump online and ask them directly of Brendan. Can I ask, in terms of, you showed us the different types of clients, what is the smallest type of client that it's sort of feasible for simPRO to be working with?
A sole trader. A sole trader. You can have one license. Look, we work very extensively globally with a lot of trades academies, right? Mm-hmm. And they have people who've just been an apprentice and have now gone out and gone ahead and set up their own business. They get on the journey with simPRO, because bear in mind, the analogy or the way we look at the industry is that if you have set up simPRO from being a sole trader, it allows you to grow and it would not hit the ceiling, right? So there's no opportunity cost, there's no retraining. You're not, having one software to manage your CRM, another software to do your timesheets, another software to, click photos, another software to go and say, oh, I need signatures on this. Everything is in one software end to end. And as you grow, all you're then doing is you're just passing that information. You've already systemized the process, right? I mean, I read this, a book called The E-Myth Contractor, right? And all that, or successful businesses, it's all about systemizing and then passing that information to people to do things. And that's where simPRO comes in. As far as the biggest customer goes, they've got franchised operations, who've got 500 different franchisees Australia-wide or globally using simPRO as the field. I also have one of my biggest customers actually use SAP as the major accounting side of things, but simPRO came in as that job management, field management piece, because that's where we excel in. So for normal businesses, all the way from a lead to that invoicing, it'll be perfect. But if you've got bigger businesses who say, all I'm focused is I want to run the field operations to a great way, that's fine. We can define that. That's where the handover is going to be as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Brendan. Now, we have had some questions come in. Can the purchase orders be exported to an approval process software? And I guess also, is there an approval process within simPRO?
There is an approval process within simPRO. It really depends on how extensive that process is, right? And that is where I think that whole one-on-one with the customer on what they're thinking is where it would come. So a stock standard approval process within simPRO could be defined by the actual purchase order, value, to say, hey, anything over 5,000 needs to go to approval to A, anything over 10,000 needs to go to approval for B, right? But then if you have the smarts where, it could be, oh, I need to send it to 3 different people, there's always workarounds. The easiest way that I tell customers is it's all about how you configure simPRO. And I say configure, not customize, configure. It is off the shelf. It really depends on how you're configuring it, because the beauty of simPRO is that on the back end, you can define your workflow. So customer A versus customer B doing exactly the same things could still have different workflows, right? And that's where it would fit in. So yes, the process is there. And to a certain level, we've also seen, it being going in, and some of our customers have integrated with Approval Max as well. So it really depends on what level they're thinking.
Okay, so yes, it can be integrated with Approval Max, and I'm presuming there's the Zahara software out there, those approval solutions, maybe even Lightyear.
Heather, simPRO integrates with Zapier, right, which opens up, and simPRO has an open REST API, right? So the whole integration piece, it really depends on whether it's already been done, whether it's done through Zapier or it's done through something else.
Excellent. We like a good open API. So we've also been asked a great question here. What is the role of the accountant bookkeeper with the simPRO accounting software integration? And maybe if you answer that, you could pop up the slide that you had. You showed a good slide while you were talking about the integration.
Yeah. So
I don't want to get you to do 2 things at once.
No, that's fine. So what I will say is, let me just come in here, right? Now, there's a couple of things that the relationship of the accountant is there, right? So first and the foremost, let me just do that as well. Okay, let me just share the screen. So when I look into this implementation piece, you can see that?
Yes, yeah.
Right. Now, when we are looking into the configuration part here, that's where the accountants usually get involved, right? In that setup sort of things, where they are the first ones who are going to be looking at, okay, this is a chart of accounts that we need to look at, and that's the overheads that are got to be defined. So, before we go and configure, we've got an overheads calculator sheet, which is usually sent out to the accountants, and the accountants then pulling that information, send it back. The chart of accounts, and you guys can be part of that implementation if you wanted to. I've had accountants join in, sit for, half a day when we actually configuring that piece. Now, what the accountant does after that is, again, how do you go ahead and do more within those reports? How do you go ahead and actually pull those reports out, do the business intelligence and all of that? But during the implementation, it's all about that mind share, because you would have set up the Xero, My, or QuickBooks for them, or it might be that you could have customers who walk into you and you're still setting up their accounting software, and you're saying, hey, by the way, do you have a job management software? Because accounting software is not going to do job management for you. So that's where I think the role of the accountant and the bookkeeper is there as well.
Excellent. Hopefully that answers your question there. And if you have any further, drop it in the chat area. We've also had the question, how many tracking fields are available per job? For example, division, state, job stage, team.
Well, there are a lot of them. And the beauty of that is that you could actually set it up. You can customize those fields as well, right? So you could have, depending on whether you make it mandatory or not, you can track it. So if I went in and let's say showed you a progress job, so to speak, let me pull a project one. Yeah, that should be all right. So this is what my job, a project job, looks like within simPRO, right? Where I've got the estimate, On the right hand side, there's each and everything that has happened within the job. Then I go into the cost center list. So I can actually stack and divide the job based on, okay, on the basement, I've got 3 different cost centers in here. When I go into this, that's when simPRO really comes into its element, right? Where I'm actually doing the parts and labor, when I'm pulling all this information in, I'm looking at the stock. But if I go in to the main job and go into the project overview, this is my operations view, but I've got a financial view here as well, which actually tells me that's the value, I've claimed this much, that much has been billed, that's my total cost, that's my cost to complete. It actually takes it to a very different level from an accounting perspective for you guys to actually picturize what the projected margins are. Do I include overheads? Do I include committed costs? Do I include the variations in here or not? I can even use features like the Gantt charts if I want to in there. But to answer that question as well, that tracking, it again depends on how do we configure the software, what custom fields do we put in there, and do we make them mandatory or not?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Hopefully that answers your question there. Can I ask, what does the little symbol in the top right-hand side, the headphones, do?
Oh, that's our WAP integration. So we actually integrate with, that's my demo build, but simPRO can integrate and you can have the WAP integration set in. So, you know, you could have online, the phones coming in, and then that can be integrated and it can actually dial out from here. So sitting within simPRO, you can press dial and it can actually go out as well. So that's an add-on.
Okay, yeah, but that's massive. That's very, very interesting.
It is.
Excellent. So we've also had the question, can your invoicing section cater for and track deposits? For example, a 50% deposit upfront for a job, and how does this integrate with Xero? So we would be very concerned about the GST, I guess, on that.
It does, because on the back end, you can set up the workflow where if I go into my job side of scenario, right, I have pending, progress, complete, and invoice. Those are my stages of a job, right? Now, on the back end within simPRO, I could actually have, if I show you guys, that's my workflow within simPRO, right? So I could then have in here, deposit has been paid, and that's a status that I have. It will still be as a progress job, but I can set up that workflow. So it can take care of that, and it can actually really depends on, again, how we configure it and what do you want to look into it. And that's where that whole implementation piece comes in. But it's not, you know, that's a very common thing within the trade space, where you do not start work before 25% deposit is paid, or, you know, even with your progress claims, simPRO actually even tells you to be in the green, how much of a progress claim do you need to take for X stages, so that the job's always in the green.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, does that also, I'm interested to know, does that, you had retentions invoicing. Is that slightly different? That you did mention retentions invoicing there.
Well, look, with the retention side of things, yes, you can set up, when you're setting up a job within simPRO, you can in there set up a percentage of retention that needs to be taken care of. That retention can also have inflation value in there. And when it comes to claim that, simPRO would then alert you that these invoices are to be taken care of because they are retention invoices. So yes, it is. It would go into the invoice stage, but it wouldn't go into the whole job being completed, because it's still, you know, the retention has to be claimed. But when you're creating a job in there, there's just a small tick box where say enable retention, and that whole workflow starts on the back end.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. We've also had a question. Can we get an employee productivity report?
You certainly can. When you say employee productivity report, I can go into my technicians and I can actually go into labor productivity here, right? And I can actually then go and say, last month, all the contractors, well, we'll include them and that report, because Some contractors are there. So here you go. It actually pulls it out. And again, with the reporting, what you're having a look here is a demo build, which is being used by about 6 or 10 of my BDMs, but it's still not real live data. In terms of the reporting, that is one of the most important reports that any growing business actually pulls out to say, hey, how are my technicians doing? Now, if I even go in, you can look at the job productivity side. You can look at the schedule breakdown. You can look at schedule comparisons and even technician activity on, what are they doing? So on the report side, I think businesses who are coming in with no software, these 55 would be more than enough for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Businesses who are coming in from the lower end where you've got, softwares who do X amount and not the whole gambit. In that instance, you might utilize business intelligence as well, because there are specific instances where you want to just capture X, which off the shelf it wouldn't.
Excellent. Yeah. And another good question is, can subcontractors enter their own availability?
They can. It really depends on a couple of factors. That would you want to give them that mobile app on the fly, right? Would you want to pay for them, or would you tell them to pay for it? It can be done around that. The second option could be, we also have contractor portals. So simPRO can actually set up customer, employee, and contractor portals, and they're absolutely free, right? Now, think of a scenario where you've got Rare White Brisbane, right? And you've set up a customer portal for them. They can actually get a job through their portal into simPRO without picking up the phone and telling you.
Wow.
Right?
That's a bit frictionless.
It is. In the same way, you can set up a contractor portal, and in the contractor portal, the contractor can then have their availability on that side to say, I'm not available X days or Y days. Or the other option could be, you can give them a mobile app and they can do it through there as well.
Can you get me one of those portal accesses for my son?
Yeah, why not? I can set it up on the demo build. That's fine. Anything you...
Just do this for me, Ma.
Yeah.
Maybe not. So we've also had the important question: can a simPRO be used across all phone types, iPhones, Androids, Samsung? And also an additional question: does it have offline capability? It
does. To answer the first one, iOS or Android, we don't care. In fact, as a matter of fact, each and every simPRO employee who's dealing with customers has got one of each device. So I've got a Samsung tablet and I've got an iPhone, right? And look, the app is we don't limit them, because we understand that a lot of times you might not be willing to give iPads to everyone. The cheapest Android tab is what, $200, right? For field staff, but it can. And the second question was, I missed that one.
Does it have offline capability?
It does. Do you? So what it does is, so we've got customers who work in mines. We've got customers who are out of the range. So now at the start of the day, it pulls, or when you go refresh my run sheet, it pulls all of that. Once you go in there, and if you're at a position where there's no signal, it still captures all of that. The moment it gets back into signal, it'll upload all of the stuff. So yes, it does have that offline side of things as well.
Excellent.
Because you might be working in basements, you might be in a mine site.
Yeah, absolutely.
Out in whoop whoop.
Yeah, no, look, I'm really impressed. Impressed with what you've talked about, how you have the ideas area, how you're rolling out the features and functionalities, and how you showed us the help and the drop down, and how you could work through that to work out how to do everything. So that was excellent.
And one of the other things, I think you can still see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
So simPRO, this is a help guide, which is online, available to everyone. If you click the product roadmap of simPRO, and I can guarantee you 90% of the SaaS providers do not share their roadmaps. With simPRO, we actually have the roadmaps and see what is one of the upcoming features there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Integrating with simPRO timesheets to zero to further streamline. Now that is the second most awarded idea on the IDS portal, right? So in here, you can actually see what's in development, what's planned, what has been completed in terms of simPRO. And if I can we even go down the track of the simPRO mobile site. But more importantly, with here, that's my help guide. I use it all the time as well. If I get stuck, right, I could actually get in here and I could be talking about Xero integration, right? And this will then tell me how to set up your Xero accounting link. There are step-by-step videos. There are step-by-step required setups in here, which allow you to understand what is going to happen with Xero. How do you set up Xero, Mayo, QuickBooks, or any of the other factors here? So the help guide is a pretty extensive tool and helps mostly everyone, whether you are an extensive user of simPRO or you just new.
And so the question, sorry, I lost my sound for a little while there. I'm not sure what happened, but it sounded like you were going and no one was commenting, so they must have all been able to hear you. How can bookkeepers learn more about the program without taking out a subscription? Like, is there a sandbox opportunity? And what you just referenced, do you don't need a subscription to access that content? Do you need a subscription to access that content?
simPRO, we do have a partner program as well, right? So you can come on board as a simPRO accounting partner. Now, there are no targets, there are no minimum XYZ. All we are saying is you are potentially playing the role of a referrer. So if I, as an end customer, walk into your practice and say, you know what, I'm struggling with the scheduling side. I'm spending way too much time in doing the whiteboard stuff. My staff is not filling timesheets and my invoices is getting delayed because I'm waiting for that paper to come back in, right? You can then potentially tell them, you know what, I think you need to look into simPRO. Give me a call that this is one of my customers. He's interested in a job management software. I've got a team of 10 BDMs across Australia. They would initiate a contact with him, understand what he wants, do a full deep dive, 1.5 hour session to understand whether it's a fit or not. Once that person comes on board, you as a partner, you can pass on the preferential rate of the implementation, but you also get a license into your customer's build. For you to then go in, whether do the invoicing, pull the reports, do BI reporting and all of that. As a partner, you also get access to the learning toolbox, which is where you could learn more about simPRO and how to do X, how to do Y. The help guide is always there. Then we keep running these sessions, masterclasses for partners, for end customers, which you could be part of. So for you to learn more about simPRO, I think the good starting point would be if you want to get access, you send me an email. I can set up learning toolbox access for you. Once you've had a look at it, you can come on board as a partner, and then we can help you set up simPRO for one of your customers, and that's where the biggest learning comes.
Okay, so you're giving them an option to dip their toe in the water without fully committing. Is that?
Well, look, in terms of learning more, I think the help guide is more than enough. Anyone
and that's the dipping the toe. So you're giving them access to the learning guide so they can jump in and is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if they are going further access, really they have to have a client, because one of the difficulties is it's a big solution. So we don't necessarily want our client to get on it until we know it. We want to be ahead of our client.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you kind of want the client to be ahead of us, which we will find ourselves in that situation, yes. But if we're working with clients, especially like, you've got a few there and you're like, okay, before I recommend this, I don't want you to come back and blame me until I know it better.
Yeah.
So even if there was, are there more online webinars, learning webinar
100%.
opportunities?
100%. Okay. Look, and I'm more than happy that if your community wants to get access to that learning portal, we can give them access to the learning portal. That's fine. We can manage that. But consider this, from being a step forward from the client, I would say you need to look into these predominant 4 things for the customer, right? The challenges that they're facing. Are they doing the quotes in a way they could be, right? How much time are they spending on the quotes? Are they returning the quotes in a timely manner? Do they have online acceptance of the quotes? Are they pricing the quotes perfectly, right? Secondly, are they actually scheduling these field staff of theirs, of themselves? Are they finding issues there? Do they have bottlenecks? Do they have timesheet issues? Do they have photo issues? Do they have GSA issues or swims, right? And thirdly, how are they managing that whole supplier integration, right? How are they looking at when they're dealing with, the middies or others? Because where simPRO is so different is, I'll show you one of the most important things within simPRO is if I go back into the same job that I am, and hopefully no one's working on it at this stage, because you never know. So if I go in here into my stock scenario, right? And in parts and labor, I've got that, that's fine. If I have to raise a purchase order, right, in here based on the job, where am I? It actually captures and calculates on the back end of which is the cheapest supplier. Now, a lot of times you're dealing with 4 different suppliers. And you're spending numerous hours trying to figure out who the cheapest one is. Within simPRO's integration, it happens on the fly, literally on the fly in there. So I think a lot of times what you can notice within simPRO is from that customer's perspective, what are the advances that you're going to be giving to the customer?
Yeah.
Right? Is it streamlining their processes? They might not be ready, and that's fine. When I say a client, we just mean a referral. We don't want a client. So if you look into your books and say, okay, this person was struggling with timesheets, this one was struggling with scheduling, Brendan, they might want to have a look at the software. That's all that we want, right? Yeah. Because we know it's not going to be fit for everyone.
No, absolutely. So hopefully that connects the bookkeepers and the clients with your solution. A question has come in. Can bookkeepers access existing customers who are using simPRO presumably without paying for another user, which I think is exactly what they need to be a part of the partner program.
They need to be a partner, and we can do that. Because
is there a cost in being part of the partner program?
No.
Okay, so there should be cost. Hopefully there's no barrier then to entry. I don't want to say your name, but the person who's asking that question, maybe look into that partner program, join that, and
100%.
And then get that access. So hopefully that will make life a lot easier for you. Okay. Do many builders subscribe or use simPRO?
They do. Building and construction is one of the key industries that we work in. So they do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to drop your name, your email address in the chat area, because you've suggested people get in contact with you.
Yep.
There, but people I'm sure can find you there. Oh, that was didn't copy that correctly. But do we have any more questions while I do that? Okay, so I'm going to drop Brendan's email address into the chat area. So hopefully that helps you. And I think, like, I'm going to answer this one. I'm saying yes, but is there a revenue share for partner referrals?
You could.
Oh, okay.
So you could either come on board as an accounting partner, or you could come on board as a business consulting partner. You can't come on board as both, right? The difference is going to be that, yes, the preferential rates are there, but there is a one-off referral once the customer goes live based on the number of licenses if you come on board as a business consulting partner, but you don't get access to that license into that build. So a lot of times I have gone in and I've had a chat with some bookkeepers, and they say, look, right at this stage, I want to build up my business. I want the referral to come through so that I can reinvest it in. And bear in mind, the simPRO licensing is concurrent, right? So if the customer has 2 licenses and they are not logged into that license at 6 p.m., you can log into that and do whatever you want, right? I've had bookkeepers and accountants who've got offshoring in Philippines. and they usually log in at a different time. So yes, you can have a revenue share, or you can come on board as an accounting partner. You just need to decide whether you want to focus on that advisory piece where you want to log in, get unlimited access into the build at whatever time, do the reporting, do the business intelligence and all of that, or you're more happy to get the once-off referral and then utilize one of the licenses of the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully that answered that question there. Now, does anyone have any other questions there? Thank you. Thank you, Brendan, so much for your session today. I'll just wrap it up as we wait for see if any more questions come. Really appreciate you joining us today, showing us that solution, answering all our questions. Is there anything else you'd like to share with listeners, and how can people get in contact with you?
Well, email, but I can also put in my mobile number if you
Oh.
but I think email is the best option, because if I get calls in, and as I said, I've got a 10-month-old as well, so I might not be answering it that quickly. But look, email is the best option. You can go on our website. You can put in a request on the website as well. It will come to either one of our partner managers. We've got 3 in Australia, 1 in New Zealand. We've got 3 partner managers in UK, 3 in the US. So we've got a massive global partner team, right? And all we are looking for is to help accountants, bookkeepers, and community members like yourselves to present simPRO to your customers. And if it's a right fit, we can take them on that journey. So look, from our perspective, we would do everything possible to help it, make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Brendan. And everyone knows how to get in contact with him. Really appreciate you coming on the Lunch and Learns. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Heather. Thanks for inviting me, and thank you everyone for joining.